Against national security personnel by two journalists who were recently arrested and detained.
We're beating our, electronic equipment were used to, torture them and so on and so forth. And I think that if this is true, it is deeply embarrassing for our country that has been held up globally when it comes to press freedom and freedom of expression.
We'll get to hear from one of the journalists.
Every question came with a slap. Every slap. So when they ask a question before I could say Jack, then they slap. And sometimes when I speak and they are not enthused, convinced. Accra
High Court issues bench warrant for two more suspects said to have been complicit in the recent kidnapping of two Canadian nationals, even as three of the suspects currently standing trial also accused the BNI of. President Akufo-Addo describes as untrue claims that government intends to muzzle academic freedoms with the new tertiary education bill.
My government and I are firm subscribers, as the bill amply demonstrates, to the cardinal importance of the principle of academic freedom in the development of all institutions of learning.
And in business,
West African states to start issuing the sub-region single currency, the ECO, by next year.
Others meet the convergence criteria, they will join. And I can't predict which countries will be able to meet. Of course, I have to hope that my own country will be there.
We hear from an economist who is questioning Ghana's qualification to meet ECOWAS convergence criteria and its issuance actually.
A 17-year-old boy wanted by the Upper Dentra West Police for allegedly filing a 14-year-old girl at Intom.
It hurts me. It hurts me that the boy did that to me. They say I'm a bad girl.
The stigma. I'm Israel and Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlimli here in Accra. Digital address GA09925539. Stay tuned in. In our first story, the Media Foundation for West Africa has described as embarrassing allegations that two journalists from online portal Modern Ghana were arrested, detained and tortured by personnel of the Bureau of National Investigations. Executive Director Suleiman Abrahima is worried attacks on media freedom are becoming more rampant. The two journalists, Emmanuel Ajafo Abugri and his colleague, were picked up last Thursday by national security operatives on claims that they had engaged in cybercrime, a claim the media outfit denies vehemently. Emmanuel Ajafo Abugri told Joy News in an exclusive interview he was subjected to all kinds of torture, including electric shocks, during his detention. He spoke with Emefa Pau.
Every question came with a slap. Every slap. So when they ask a question before I could say Jack, then they slap. And sometimes when I speak and they are not enthused, convinced with my answer, they give me a slap. And then from there, they torture me. They use the electric shocker to shock my body. And then even to the extent they even shock my ears with the shocker. After which they put a handcuff on my hands behind. And then they were giving me punches and all that. And from there, they made me go to the military style where I have to lean against a wall with my legs up, with my hands down as if I'm doing a press up. Then they gave me a huge slap on my back. Then I fell. Then one guy used his elbow and then straight on my backbone. He hit it and I fell down. I lost breath for a while, so I had to open my mouth and gush in air so I could survive. And I cried like a newborn baby, telling that I am innocent. I don't know the Constant Kwaben guy. And then the second story was actually a press release which we published.
So after all this torturing, when finally were you released and how did that happen?
So actually they took me on Thursday and they released me on Saturday morning. And so on Saturday morning I was there. And then I was there, and then they came and called me that, look, they have to release me to go. They have to bail me to go. So they gave me my shoe, my belt, they took my phones, they took my two phones, my tablet, and my laptop. So when we got there, they collected the password. So I gave my phones to them and all that. So after going through, they didn't see anything. Then when they were releasing me, they gave me the phones and my tablet. But my laptop is still with them as we speak now.
But you are accused of hacking into systems of corporate bodies and your competitors. Is that the case?
When they were interrogating me, those issues of hacking never pop up.
Okay.
Now, if they are saying that I hacked into their system, when they came to our office and raided, what communication gadget did they pick? And when they went through my laptop and my phones, which hacking software did they see? And which corporate email or corporate organization did we hack?
Okay.
Are they not supposed to be told, those organizations? Are they not entitled to know? So that they can also do checks from their side to find out that indeed somebody tried tampering with their system, and then they can also come up with their findings and also proceed further.
Okay.
No, I don't have an IT background.
So as it stands now, are you supposed to report back to the National Security or the BNI?
I'm on my way. I'm supposed to report in the morning, but I wasn't feeling well. I had to take my medicine.
And as it stands now, are you getting any medical attention? Have you reported
yes,
to the...
immediately when they released me, I had to go to a hospital. Yes, because I was suffering.
The Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleimana Brahima, says government must respect the human rights of the two journalists and ensure the rule of law is followed if they have erred. Yava adds the claims of torture would worsen Ghana's already blighted press freedom credentials.
Into a situation where it's about rule of force and not rule of law. I think that it must be embarrassing for the government for this to have happened. I can't contemplate what would justify the nature and manner in which we've heard these people were picked up, and now we are hearing that they were tortured. I think, as I said earlier, it's something that is deeply embarrassing for our country. Those of us within this space have received several calls from the international community. Some of them saying, we've read this about Ghana, but we don't believe this could happen in Ghana. Can you confirm it for us? You know, and so I think government must immediately take steps to ensure that, yes, if these people have committed any offense or any crime, they are handled in accordance with the law and not on the basis of who has power and who can teach anybody a lesson on the basis of deploying national security to do what we are told happened. Again, the worrying phenomenon is that from Ayawa, so West Wogon, and so on and so forth, our national security establishment perhaps has reputational issues to deal with. And so on the basis of that, these are the kinds of things that you wouldn't want them to be getting themselves meddled in or involved in. So the folks should be handled in accordance with the law. Their rights must be respected. I don't think here in Ghana we should get to the point where journalists can be picked up and tortured by national security. These are things that happen in Eritrea or Somalia or the Gambia under Yahya Jammeh. And I think we've long gone past that state. And so I was asking myself, really, is that what we've gotten ourselves into in terms of people not being pleased with whatever journalists may have done? Or even if journalists commit a crime, is it the way to handle it? Is that how our laws prescribe, the way we treat, people who commit crimes, even if a journalist has published something that you are not happy about, or as they claim, if these journalists were into activities of, spying or whatever of other media organizations, which I don't believe.
Now, National Security will not speak publicly about the claims of torture, but head of Security Desk here at Joy News, Gifty Ando Appiah, has made contact with some officials who are refuting the claims, and she joins me in the studio. Thank you very much, Gifty. So let's look at some of the claims that they have made. First of all, they talked about the fact that, or Jaffa talked about the fact that he was electrocuted. What do we have, what's been the reaction from...
Well, I cannot say that I have been there to check with my own eyes to see whether or not these equipment exist. But that's the response we're getting. First of all, they say they don't even have such equipment.
Not even tasers?
No.
Then he talks about being brutalized. And how do they respond to that as well?
So they deny that one as well, which he says he was beaten. They deny that as well. What we also gather, by the way, is that there's a report made to the Legon police to the effect that they've been beaten, and so they were given a medical form to go to the hospital, and so we'll have to get back to the editor to find out whether or not there has been a doctor's confirmation to the effect that there has been any torture or electrocution at all in this case.
All right. And then they also talked about, Jaffa again talked about the fact that they were blindfolded with black polythene bags.
So our sources within say there were no polythene bags strapped to their heads at the time they were handed over at the national security premises. But again, there is a need to indicate that between the time that they were picked up and the time that they were handed over, anything could have happened. Yes. So perhaps it happened within this time that our sources perhaps didn't have eyes at this time. So it did. They're saying that it's not true, but this is the report, of course, that we're getting from those who were arrested themselves.
Now, again, they talk about what we know has been put out there, the fact that they were engaged in cybercrime, but they talk about the fact that there was no reference to cybercrime, but reference to the publications that they had made.
So again, the information that we gather from our sources indicates that the information we have is opposite to the report that these people are making. Our sources say that interrogation was really about their ability to get into the system of media houses. And we're talking specifically about a big Akan-speaking media house. We're told that they had confessed to having credentials that gave them access to the portals of these media houses, and that they were able to access information, for example, picking up stories from correspondents and reporting them as their own, and even had information that granted them access to sensitive information, including financial transactions of this company. So we're told that the information I'm picking up is that there had actually been a confession at that point.
And what we're being told too is that they also insist that they were arrested without a warrant.
Before I even come to the fact that they were arrested without a warrant, we also know that the reporter had indicated that the credentials they have, which gives them access to the system of this media house, was given to him by somebody who used to work with the organization. So what we also know is that this person has been invited, and investigations are ongoing to bring him in to also, find out whether or not he gave those details to them, or these people were able to access this information otherwise. Regarding the warrant, they were arrested without warrant. That's true. So I've been doing my own checks and finding out as well from our sources whether it was right to arrest somebody without a warrant. We've also learned that there are circumstances under which someone can be arrested without a warrant, and one of them is when there's fear or when there's a threat of the suspect's ability to tamper with evidence. So we're learning from experts that in cases like these, where you have cyber crime being committed, one of the key things you want to do is to secure the gadgets as quickly as possible, because whatever has been done can be reversed. And so we're told that this was the reason why they had to be arrested without warrant, and it's allowed in Article 14 of the Constitution. I mean, of course, we can have further interpretation on this, but this is what we know at this point. All
right, thank you very much, Gifty Ando-Apia. And Gifty Ando-Apia, as I indicated, she's the head of our security desk. We're doing this because National Security is not willing to speak publicly about these allegations and claims made by the two journalists. Now, there have already been a number of reactions from the media fraternity. The Private Newspaper Publishers Association of Ghana, PRIMPAG, has condemned the arrest and detention. Its president, Edwin Arthur, says his outfit will use every means possible to get to the bottom of the issue.
Let's continue from the issue with national security.
So currently, PRIMPAG has an issue with national security as to the manner in which two of our members who were arrested on Thursday and released on Saturday, the manner in which they were handled. We are not happy. We've been hearing stories about the manner in which they were mishandled whilst in detention. We have not verified those information. We haven't verified those facts. And so they remain allegations, they remain speculations. But we are making effort. The leadership of PRIMPAG is making frantic efforts to contact National Security, especially the minister, because I personally spoke to the minister on Friday, and he gave me the assurance that our members were being treated very well. And so the stories that we are hearing, we are reading in some newspapers, they are very unfortunate. But
what are you hearing?
Well, because we haven't verified. So they remain allegations, so I don't want to repeat them. But it borders on on mishandling of journalists in detention, but we haven't verified the facts. So I wouldn't want to repeat. I wouldn't want to put them out there. But we are making frantic effort in contacting the minister or his other officers, and then when we verify, Primpack will obviously issue a statement on it. But I want to believe that it is not true. But if it is true, then that was unfortunate.
Is there any attempt by people in authority, say government officials, trying to make it impossible for journalists to operate freely in Ghana?
Well, there have been a few instances, but I want to believe that we as media practitioners have resisted the temptation, and I think that I must commend my colleagues in the media for such a bravery, because we have heard and seen attempts to intimidate journalists who were on certain beats, who were investigating some stories, but they stuck to their grounds, and they completed their investigation, and they published their stories, and nothing happened to them. They damned the consequences. And so, yes, there have been some attempts, but we have neutralized, we as media practitioners, we have neutralized those moved by people, some from officialdom, some private persons.
And Accra High Court has issued a bench warrant for the arrest of 2 persons believed to have been complicit in the kidnapping of 2 Canadian nationals last month. Senior State Attorney Hilda Craig Monday also asked the court for permission to publish their pictures on various media platforms. Meanwhile, at least 3 of the 8 suspects currently standing trial for the kidnapping have accused officials of the BNI of torturing them in custody. There's more in the following report.
The first accused, Romeo Agalo, alleges he was forced to sign a statement confirming actions he did not engage in. He told the court he was not totally innocent of the accusations leveled against him, but additional facts have been added to his case. He also took the opportunity to apologize to the Canadian girls, their families, and the government of Ghana and Nigeria for participating in the crime. Yusuf Yakub, who is the 4th accused person, also alleged that hot water was poured on him, causing injury to his back while in custody. The 8th accused person, Said Abubakar, who had legal representation, also made similar allegation. Justice George Brady asked Said Abubakar to take off his shirt for examination and remarked, quote, "There are no visible signs of injury," end quote. He advised his lawyer Andrew Voltaire to investigate the claims and make the application for bail upon his findings. Senior State Attorney Hilda Craig described the allegations as fabricated stories aimed at making the BNI look bad. She insisted no one had been assaulted, adding that keeping them in the custody of the BNI makes the work of investigators easier. She also informed the court investigations were ongoing and attempts were being made to engage.
We do apologize for the poor quality of that tape. Now, President Akufo-Addo has described as untrue and unfortunate claims that the new tertiary education bill will take away academic freedom. The bill, set to be put before Parliament after consultations with interest groups, aims, among others, to bring all public universities under a uniform administration and address challenges associated with the running of the schools. Addressing the 11th congregation of the University of Professional Studies, President Akufo-Addo stated his government fully supports academic freedom and will work to promote it.
Consultations on the Public Universities Bill have been completed and will be laid before Parliament this year. Amongst others, this will bring all the public universities under a common law and thereby make the administration of the public universities less cumbersome and more efficient. The flimsy allegations being perpetrated that the bill will undermine academic freedom are deliberate, mischief-making, and disingenuous. My government and I are firm subscribers as the bill amply demonstrates, to the cardinal importance of the principle of academic freedom in the development of all institutions of learning worth their salt. I commend the Council and management of the University of Professional Studies for placing emphasis on courses relevant to the needs of the Ghanaian economy, particularly management sciences, accountancy, marketing, banking and finance, communication.
The president is also taking on lawyers who support what he describes as negative practices. He said the development gives the profession a bad image.
Whereas we can say that we have a lot to be proud of in the role of lawyers in bringing our nation thus far, it is also true that we have not always done ourselves proud. The sad truth is that there have always been lawyers ready to find a way to justify some negative developments, no matter how bizarre. And the staunch defense put up by some lawyers a few years ago regarding the payment of fraudulently procured judgment debts are cases in point. It is not surprising, therefore, that sometimes our profession has attracted the most cynical of comments. We need to be aware of these criticisms and respond in a manner that asserts the integrity of the legal profession and its determination to uphold the rule of law. Upholding law and order is the basis of every organized and progressive society.
In all, 326 students graduated with various degrees from the Faculty of Law, Information Technology and Communication Studies. Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Abednego Oko-Amate, said the school is using its internally generated funds to undertake expansion works to accommodate the huge number of applicants graduating from the free senior high school program.
Student information systems has been upgraded and integrated with other applications to dramatically improve admissions, registration, examination grading, issuance of transcript and graduation processes. The in-house development and deployment of the uses has saved the university over $700,000. Your Excellency, the university continues to carry out a lot of infrastructure development projects necessary for the creation of the congenial atmosphere for teaching, learning, and research. The internally generated fund remains the source of funding for virtually all the projects being undertaken. Recently completed and ongoing infrastructure development projects are: 1. The ultra-modern auditorium and students' center project. A new ultra-modern auditorium with seating capacity of 3,550 with ancillary facilities was commissioned in April of this year.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin, 17-year-old boy wanted by the Upper Dentra West Police for allegedly defiling a 14-year-old girl at Minto.
It hurts me. It hurts me that the boy did that to me. They say I'm a bad girl.
The stigma.
But right next, after the break though, in business, West African states will start issuing the sub-region single currency, the ECO, by next year.
As others meet the convergence criteria, they will join. And I can't predict which countries will be able to meet. Of course, I have to hope that my own country will be there.
Stay tuned in, we'll be back later. Residents of the Oti regional capital, Dambai, are drinking from the Oti River, an untreated source of water close to a dumping site. Unfortunately, residents say they have no option as there are no potable water sources available. Those who live miles from the river are faced with paying exorbitant charges to water distributors to get water for their domestic chores. As part of our Safe Water project, my colleague Henry Kwesi Badu visited the capital and found this report.
It is a beautiful morning here as the sun rises over the horizon of the Oti River at Dambai. People are carrying pans and gallons in search of water. A tributary of River Oti is the only source of water here. It looks badly polluted. The task of collecting water here falls on women and children, especially girls. The river water is brownish, literally muddy. Residents here say the situation is dire. Akosia has lived at Dambai throughout her life.
This is the only source of water for the people of Dambai. The problem is whenever it rains, the running water carries human and livestock excreta into the river. Around, sometimes at the the water is also close to an old dumping site for the Zoomland company, where their refuse containers are kept.
The problem looks widespread as other communities also depend on the same river. Motor tricycle operators have found an opportunity to make money by supplying water to the people in this community. They sell a gallon of water for 4 cedis. Mohammed Seidu lives here and drives one of these cycles.
This place, there's no water. This water that we are selling for people. So if you fetch 1 drum, it's 4 cedi. There's no pipe in the area. So this is the water that we are selling for the people. For the water problem, we want the government to come and put the water for the house for us. And then our fathers and our mothers don't almost suffer on the water again. In a day, I was able to get almost 80 Ghana a day. 80. It's a good job for me, so I only get 80 Ghana in a day. Thank you.
The residents are hopeful that government might spend a part of the 20 million cedis which has been allocated to each of the newly created regions towards providing potable water for the people of Dambai. Henry Kwesibedu's report for Joy News.
Now, police are on a manhunt for a 17-year-old boy who allegedly defiled a 14-year-old girl at Intom, a town in the Upper Dincho West District. The boy, who is said to have confessed to the crime, has since fled the town with his mother and has been to visit the victim and her family at their farmhouse, and now reports.
But her real name is the second of 8 children. Determined to change the fortunes of her family, she takes her education seriously. Every day, she walks several kilometers to school. But a year ago, the actions of a 16-year-old boy changed her life. Ekia was defiled and got pregnant.
I walk alone to school, but return with my siblings. I always see this guy on my way to school. One day, he accosted me and raped me.
Looking very shy and carrying her 4-month-old baby, she tells me she didn't know when she got pregnant until her mother and her teacher said so. Moreover, the perpetrator had threatened to kill her if she told anybody.
He told me he will kill me if I tell anyone.
Ekia's father, Jonathan Say, says he reported the issue first to NGO World Vision Ghana, the police, and then to the Social Welfare Department, where the perpetrator took responsibility for the pregnancy and promised to take care of the child. But that would be the last time he would set eyes on him.
And I'm saying, me fan call a social welfare. I want to call your friend boy no one back.
Initially, the boy failed to show up at the social welfare, but he came after the lawyers wrote to him. He admitted to being responsible for the pregnancy and promised to take care of the child. But after a week, no one came here. So I went back to town only to find out that the boy and his mother had left.
Meanwhile, the chiefs of Intom insisted some purification be done because it was a taboo to have any form of sex in the bush. According to them, failure to perform these rituals could result in the death of either the 14-year-old, her unborn baby, or both.
They told me to perform rituals or my child will die. So I bought 2 goats, a cock, and a bottle of gin. My daughter delivered and I bore the cost of that as well. I spent about 1,500 cedis on the rituals.
Ekia says every time she hears the cry of her baby, she remembers the pain she went through. To make matters worse, she's been stigmatized by her mates at school and some members of the community.
It hurts me. It hurts me that the boy did that to me. They say I'm a bad girl.
The stigma is so much so that even her father has been told to forget about seeking justice because they are settlers at Intom. The head of Child Protection and Advocacy at World Vision Ghana, Gregory Derry, says government must ensure that such victims are supported and justice delivered swiftly.
She wants to blame herself. Why did she go through that bush path? But she had the liberty, like everybody, to go anywhere because the law protects us. When these cases are reported to our partners, the Department of Social Welfare, the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, and sometimes to SHRAJ, we expect that action is expedited because justice delayed is justice denied.
Meanwhile, he's pledged World Vision support to Ekia and her family, a gesture they are grateful for. Despite the ordeal, Ekia remains resolute in her decision to pursue her education.
I want to be a responsible adult just like you. Once my baby starts walking, I'll go back to school.
From Intom in the Central Region, Ernest Minu for Joy News.
Majority Leader HMN Sambunsu has justified construction of a new chamber building for Parliament capable of seating 450 members. He said the new complex will host several other facilities, including a museum, and ensure all government officials are able to do business in the House unhindered.
I think that we are on course, and I'm impressed by what I've seen. The space fronting the chamber, I think we all agree that it should be sufficient to accommodate the numbers who would want to witness, say, a president deliver a message on the State of the Nation, or indeed at the very coronation of any president. I think we should come to some terms that once we finish with this, we say goodbye to Black Star Square. That is not where it's supposed to be. We convert that square into Parliament on that day. And then when the president is being sworn in, we have the entire space being breached by non-members of Parliament, and they may not even want to surrender space to the members of Parliament. So I think that is by and large a very useful thing. So we shall have adequate space to accommodate our citizens who would want to witness the situation and the coronation of the president, and also have adequate infrastructure for those of them who are not able to come into the chamber, or wherever is to be done, to accommodate them, and they all feel part of it.
Some Ghanaians have criticized the construction of the new chamber. They described the project as a misplaced priority.
I believe now we have pressing issues in Ghana, and to me personally, it's out of proportion because we have so many things we have to tackle. Our roads are not good. We don't. Even some communities don't have pipe-borne water, and you are bringing up this time at this time. I personally believe it's out of proportion, and then we need to prioritize.
No, I think it's unnecessary. It is not time for us to. There's
there's already an existing facility. Why should you spend huge sums of money to put up additional building? It's absolutely unnecessary. There are other social amenities that we can channel our money into. For instance, health, education. We need a lot of money in these sectors. So I think it's unnecessary.
I believe it's laudable. I believe it's good. They are a law-making agency and they know what they want, they know what is good for them. So that whatever they think they need to make the laws for us are so. So it not be as though they want something more luxurious, but they should make sure that they really need the things they need to make laws, because a lot of our laws, are still not too good for us. So if they feel like these facilities will help them make good laws for us, I think it's fine. But they should also believe that and know that as time goes on, we shall judge them according to their words. We also expect that they give us quality laws made, so Ghana will be a better country than we see now. So I think it's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good thing. Of course, Ghana is still dying out of social amenities. That's why I'm saying that, we need more hospitals, we need more beds in the hospitals, we need more vehicles, we need more better roads. So if they believe that giving them more facilities than they have now will make them do for us better laws, where now we can say that each person in the country must make sure he's given a bed in the hospital, then fine, fair enough. But if after all these facilities, we give them a parliament house, in the end of the day, we still find out Ghana still being the kind of country it is now, then we shall hold them responsible.
The parliamentarians need more space, need their own personal spaces, offices, so that if for instance, I am staying where I'm staying, if I need to talk to my MP, I need to get to a place that I'll see him. And if I know if I come there, I'll get to his office, it will be very good for us all.
Chemu becomes the 21st school to make it to the quarterfinals of this year's National Science and Maths Quiz. They beat seeded school St. Louis Senior High School with 43 points. St. Louis Senior High School joins 11 seeded schools that have been eliminated from the competition. Chemu will meet Oti Boateng SHS and Keta Senior High School Technical School at the next round of the competition. Nancy Emefajra-Dozie has more in this post-contest interactions with the qualifiers and those who couldn't make it.
Last contest here at the R.S. Amageshi Auditorium of the University of Ghana. Chemu Senior High School, who came in beating Presec Legon at the regional level with about 43 points. Today have done it again. I might say that at the beginning it seemed to be an easy thing for Chemu Senior High School, but then going into the contest, that is not what really happened. St. Louis came back into the game beautifully, but unfortunately for St. Louis girls, it did not work out for them. At the end of the contest, Chemu had 43 points, St. Louis had 30, and also Osino Presby had 14 points. Come close and talk to me. Come. I see that you're also very excited. Tell me how you're feeling at this point.
Oh, we are very happy. We thank God for how far He has brought us. Yes, it has been a long journey. 4 years now. We wanted our school to be seeded, and finally our boys have done it.
Let's speak to if you can get the losers or the winners, because obviously they all have a part to play in all of this. Hi guys, hard luck. You know that it's difficult for you, but how are you feeling at this point?
I'm really speechless. I don't know what to even say. But
did you see this coming?
Nah, but hopefully next year we'll be here since we are second year.
So these guys representing Osino Price, we are informed too. What should we be expecting from you next year?
We should expect more from us next year, because we are going to work on our mistakes and also do more than what we have done this year.
The winners of this particular contest are with me. Hi guys, come. How are you feeling at this point?
Oh, we are happy for qualifying to the quarterfinal stage, and we are really happy at qualifying to quarterfinal stage. And qualifying is very good because Chemu have been qualified the 1A stage for a very long time, and doing this we are really happy. And By qualifying, we are going to the quarterfinals, so we'll qualify from that one, go to the semi, and we are heading straight to the final this year.
But what is going to be happening tomorrow are interesting contests. So in the morning, we're going to be having Tamale Senior High School, we're going to be having Kajebi Asata Senior High School and Adan Senior High School. And then in the afternoon, we'll have KNUST, SHS, Buan Ponsem Senior High School, Tamale School of Business, and then the last contest that everybody's looking forward to, Infante Pen Boys, St. Augustine's College, and Suedro Senior High School. That contest promises to be fun. And that's how we draw the curtains today on our coverage of this year's National Science and Math Quiz.
All right, so that'll be it for the bulletin, but as I indicated earlier, we're bringing you the repeat broadcast of our series, Crimes That Shook, documentary series, Crimes That Shook the Nation, and this one we're showing has to do with who killed the judges, and that's right now. Do stay tuned in.